In the last 15 minutes, rapper Lil Jon sent us a statement after searchers found his son dead in a pond. Thanks for being with us. I'm Wendy Corona.
And I'm Karen Greer. This afternoon, divers pulled the body from a pond near Mayfield Road. That's in Milton. Lil Jon telling Channel 2 Action News moments ago that he is extremely heartbroken for the tragic loss of his son, adding 27-year-old Nathan Smith was, quote, the kindest human being you would ever meet.
It's so heartbreaking, just so sad to see something like this happen. It's just right here. It's our neighbors.
What happens when a successful young music producer runs barefoot from his home at dawn, disoriented and unable to ask for help? Why would someone leave everything behind, including their phone, and vanish into the cold morning air? And what dark reality was waiting in a nearby pond that would turn a missing person case into a heartbreaking tragedy? Today on CrimeLab Report, we're diving deep into a case that's shaking the music industry and raising serious questions about mental health crises that nobody saw coming. Stay with me, because the details of what happened to Nathan Smith are as disturbing as they are heartbreaking. Welcome back to CrimeLab Report, where we examine the cases that keep us up at night and the questions that demand answers. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we cover cases that matter, cases that make us think, and cases that force us to confront uncomfortable truths about the world we live in. Today's case is different from what we usually cover. There's no villain here, no criminal mastermind, no obvious bad guy. But that doesn't make it any less disturbing. In fact, it might make it more terrifying, because it shows us how quickly everything can fall apart, even when you seem to have it all together. The case unfolds. Let me set the scene for you. It's early morning, February 3rd, 2026. Most people in Milton, Georgia, are still asleep. The sun hasn't fully risen yet. But something is happening at a home on Baldwin Drive that will set off a chain of events nobody could have predicted. Around 6 in the morning, police get a call. Someone has run out of their house. Not just walked out, not just left in a hurry. Run. Barefoot. No phone. No wallet. No explanation. And here's where it gets disturbing. The person who fled wasn't running from danger. At least, not the kind of danger you can see. Witnesses and authorities described this person as disoriented, possibly in need of urgent psychiatric help. Think about that for a moment. What goes through someone's mind in those final moments before they make a decision like that? What level of confusion or fear or panic makes you bolt from your own home without shoes, without any way to contact anyone, without any sense of where you're going? The search began immediately. Milton Police Department didn't waste time. They brought in partner agencies' K-9 units, specialized bloodhounds. They focused on an area called Mayfield Park, right near where this person was last seen. But here's something that should make your skin crawl. Earlier that same morning, before the missing person call even came in, police had already responded to Mayfield Park for what they called an active police matter. Was it connected? Nobody's saying. But the coincidence is hard to ignore. For 3 days, search teams combed through the neighborhood. They checked every street, every yard, every possible place someone could hide or collapse or seek shelter. They brought in a bloodhound from Haralson County that had successfully completed 25 searches in the past year. This was an amateur hour. These were professionals doing everything right. And yet, for 3 days, nothing. Can you imagine what those 72 hours felt like for the family? Every hour that passes in a case like this, hope starts to feel heavier and heavier. You want to believe they'll come home. You want to believe they just needed space, or they're confused but safe somewhere. But deep down, you know that someone who left barefoot, disoriented, without their phone, probably isn't okay. On Thursday, February 5th, the search intensified around Mayfield Park. They focused on bodies of water, ponds. And that decision, as horrible as it sounds, turned out to be the right one. The next morning, Friday, February 6th, divers from the Cherokee County Fire Department entered a pond in Mayfield Park. At 11:53 a.m., they recovered a body from the water. The body believed to be that of 27-year-old Nathan Smith, a music producer who performed under the name DJ Young Slade. Now, let's talk about what makes this case so deeply unsettling. Police have stated there's no indication of foul play. On the surface, that might sound like it brings some clarity. But does it really? Because when you strip away the possibility of a crime, you're left with something potentially more frightening. You're left with the reality that someone's internal struggle became so overwhelming that it led them to a pond in the middle of the night, alone, confused, and beyond anyone's ability to help. Think about the timeline here. Nathan left his home around 6 in the morning on Tuesday. His body wasn't found until Friday afternoon. Where was he during those days? Was he wandering? Was he trying to find his way back? Or did something happen much sooner than anyone realized? The pond where he was found wasn't far from his home. So why did it take 3 days and specialized search teams to locate him? And here's another question that haunts this case. What does it mean when police say someone left under unusual circumstances? They've used that phrase multiple times, but they haven't explained what made the circumstances unusual beyond the obvious. Was there something at the scene they're not sharing? Was there evidence of what Nathan was experiencing mentally that they're keeping private out of respect for the family? Or are they themselves trying to piece together something that doesn't quite make sense? The disorientation is key here. When authorities use words like that, they're telling us something important. This wasn't someone making a calculated decision. This wasn't someone who planned to disappear. This was someone in crisis, someone whose grip on reality had slipped in a way that made them feel like they needed to run. But from what? That's what we don't know. That's what makes this so disturbing. Mental health crises can happen to anyone. That's not just something people say to be supportive. It's a medical reality. Your brain is an organ, just like your heart or your lungs, and sometimes it malfunctions. Sometimes it does so without warning. You can be functioning perfectly fine one day, successful, loved, talented, and then something shifts. Maybe it's been building for a while and nobody noticed. Maybe it came on suddenly like a switch being flipped. Either way, the result can be catastrophic. Now, let's connect this to something bigger, because Nathan's case isn't happening in a vacuum. Georgia, like many states across America, has been grappling with a mental health crisis that's reaching alarming proportions. We're seeing more cases of people in psychological distress ending up in situations that turn tragic. We're seeing emergency services responding to mental health calls more frequently than ever before. And we're seeing families left with questions that have no good answers. The statistics are staggering. Mental health-related emergencies have increased dramatically over the past few years. But here's what's even more concerning. Many of these crises could potentially be prevented or better managed if we had the right systems in place, if there were more resources, if there were better training for recognizing the signs, if there wasn't such stigma around asking for help. But we don't have those things in place, at least not adequately. And so we end up with cases like Nathan's, cases where someone who seemed to have everything going for them ends up in a pond, and nobody can fully explain how he got from point A to point B. The fact that Nathan was barefoot tells us something crucial about the state of mind he was in. When you leave your house without shoes, you're not thinking clearly. You're not planning ahead. You're operating purely on impulse, on whatever your brain is telling you to do in that moment, even if it doesn't make logical sense. And when you add in the fact that he left without his phone, you realize he had no lifeline, no way to call for help if clarity returned, no way for anyone to reach him or track his location. He was completely cut off. Let's think about what his last moments might have been like. I know this is difficult, but it's important. He's running through his neighborhood in the early morning. Maybe it's still dark. He's barefoot on cold pavement. He's disoriented. Does he know where he's going? Is he trying to get somewhere specific? Or is he just running because his mind is telling him he needs to escape something? And when he reaches that pond, what happens? Does he even realize where he is? These aren't questions we're likely to get answers to. The medical examiner hasn't released the cause or manner of death yet. When they do, it might provide some clarity, or it might raise even more questions. But regardless of what the official report says, we're left with the reality that a young man with his whole life ahead of him ended up dead in water close to his home after 3 days of intensive searching. Here's something else that's been bothering me about this case. There was police activity at Mayfield Park hours before Nathan was reported missing. What was that about? Was someone else in distress? Was there something happening in that area that morning that created a dangerous situation? Or was it completely unrelated Just a terrible coincidence? The authorities haven't clarified the connection, and maybe there isn't one. But when you're looking at a case like this, you can't help but wonder about every detail that doesn't quite line up. The search effort itself shows how seriously everyone took this from the beginning. They didn't wait. They didn't assume he'd come home on his own. They mobilized immediately because they understood the urgency. When someone leaves in a disoriented state without resources, every minute matters. The K, 9 units. The specialized bloodhound with an impressive track record. The divers. All of it was deployed because professionals recognized this wasn't a typical missing person case. This was someone in danger, possibly from themselves, possibly from the elements, possibly from their inability to make safe decisions in their current state. And yet, despite all that effort, despite doing everything right, the outcome was still tragic. That should tell us something about how difficult these situations are. Even when you respond perfectly, even when you bring in every resource available, sometimes you're already too late. Sometimes the crisis has already progressed beyond the point where intervention can save someone. Now, who is Nathan Smith? Because I told you we'd get to this, and it matters. Nathan wasn't just anyone. He was the only child of Jonathan Smith, better known as Lil Jon, the legendary Atlanta rapper and producer who helped define crunk music and became a cultural icon. Nathan grew up in that world, surrounded by music and creativity. He followed in his father's footsteps, but carved out his own identity as DJ Young Slade.
So was there one particular moment in time that you saw your dad doing his thing and be like, you know what, that's what I want to do too?
Yeah, for sure. He had brought me to an after party he was DJing, and I just seen him rocking the crowd. He was on the mic, and he was just playing all the jams where everybody was dancing. You know, he telling them to put their hands up, they put their hands up. He telling them to put them down, they put them down. So it's just it impressed me. And we went home, and he put this app Serato on my computer. I was messing around with some beats and songs, and he was like, "Man, that sounds cool." And so he set me up with some turntables, and that was history. He just, taught me a few things and just let me do my thing.
He graduated from New York University. He was producing music, engineering tracks, building a career. He'd recently released a song called Feels. He appeared on MTV's Family Legacy reality show. By every external measure, he was succeeding. His father described him as the kindest human being you would ever meet. Immensely caring, thoughtful, polite, passionate, warm-hearted. Someone who loved his family and friends to the fullest. Those aren't just generic nice words people say when someone dies. Those are specific character traits that paint a picture who Nathan was to the people who knew him best. But here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. You can be all those things and still be struggling internally. You can be talented and educated and loved and still have something going wrong in your brain that you can't control. Nathan's parents had separated in 2022 after 18 years of marriage, announcing their amicable split publicly in 2024. Could that have affected him? Possibly. Family changes impact adult children too, even when parents handle things maturely. But we can't draw a straight line from one event to another and say that's what caused this. Mental health doesn't work that way. It's rarely one thing. It's usually a combination of factors, some visible, some hidden, some that even the person experiencing them might not fully understand. What strikes me most about this case is how it challenges our assumptions about who's at risk. When we think about mental health crises, we often imagine people who are obviously struggling, people who've been showing signs for a long time, people who are isolated or lacking support systems. But Nathan had family who loved him. He had a career. He had just released new music, which suggests he was actively working and creating. And yet, something happened that made him run from his home in a state of confusion that ultimately cost him his life. Does that terrify you? Because it should. It means any of us could be one bad day, one chemical imbalance, one unexpected mental health episode away from making decisions that we can't come back from. It means the people we love, the people who seem fine, might be fighting battles we know nothing about. And it means that sometimes, no matter how much love surrounds someone, no matter how much talent they have, or how bright their future looks, it might not be enough to pull them back from the edge. The investigation remains open. We're still waiting for the medical examiner to officially confirm identity and provide cause and manner of death. Those details might help us understand what happened physically, but I'm not sure they'll help us understand why. Why that morning? Why did something snap or shift or break inside Nathan's mind that made him feel like he had to run? What was he running from? What did he think he was running toward? And here's a broader question we need to be asking ourselves. How many other Nathan Smiths are out there right now? How many people are one crisis away from a tragedy like this? How many families will get that knock on the door, that phone call, that news that turns their world upside down? Because this isn't an isolated incident. This is part of a pattern we're seeing across the country. Mental health emergencies are increasing. Access to care is insufficient. Stigma still prevents people from seeking help when they need it most. And we're losing people, talented people, kind people, loved people, because we haven't figured out how to address this crisis effectively. Georgia specifically has been struggling with this. The state has seen rising numbers of mental health-related incidents, and resources haven't kept pace with need. There are gaps in crisis intervention services. There are gaps in follow-up care. There are gaps in public awareness about recognizing when someone is in trouble, and those gaps cost lives. Nathan's case should be a wake-up call, not because his father is famous, not because it's dramatic or unusual, but because it's becoming less unusual, because it could happen to anyone's son, anyone's brother, anyone's friend, because we need to do better. So let me ask you some final questions, and I want you to really think about them. When was the last time you checked in on someone, really checked in, not just asked how they were, but actually listened to the answer? When was the last time you told someone it's okay to not be okay? When was the last time you educated yourself on the signs of a mental health crisis so you'd know what to look for? And if you're struggling yourself, when was the last time you reached out for help instead of trying to handle everything alone? Because here's the truth. We can't prevent every tragedy. We can't save everyone. But we can do more than we're doing now. We can pay attention. We can remove stigma. We can fund services. We can be there for each other in ways that actually matter. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please reach out. Call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Talk to someone. Don't wait until you're barefoot and running from your house at dawn, beyond the point where rational thought can guide you back to safety. And if this case affected you, if it made you think, if it scared you or moved you or made you want to do something, then share this video. Start conversations. Be part of the solution. Because Nathan Smith deserved better. And so does everyone else fighting battles we can't see. Thanks for watching CrimeLab Report. Hit that subscribe button. Leave your thoughts in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.